We are now visiting Anglesey up in North Wales, and you're heading across one of the two bridges to get to the island, and then it's straight across on the main road to Holyhead. Holyhead's a port town. You go through that and you end up at Stack Lighthouse, or more specifically on the cliff at the top of Stack Lighthouse. You then have 400 odd steps to get zigzagging down to the island itself. Stack Lighthouse was built in 1809. The light was one white flash every 10 seconds. Foghorn was 1 3-second blast every 30 seconds. It was automated in 1983. It's open to the public but very weather dependent, so you have to check times and whether they will be opening on the day you wish to visit.
I went to say Stack, and I told you about the while I was there, the postman had celebrated he was pensioned off. He celebrated his retirement, and in the Sunday Dispatch, that would have been in 1935, was a photograph of the postman handing his last delivery on South Stack after a span of 40 years in the post office. And I was the keeper and there was a photograph, and that was in the Sunday Dispatch. And I had a copy of it, but I don't know what happened to it. But you've been to the South Stack, and halfway down the steps there was a recess, I remember, where Queen Victoria sat. Something that's true, isn't it?
We were told that it was called Victoria's seat, and they carved it out especially for her.
That's right.
Behind.
That's right. Yeah. Well, he remarked about it. Whether he was in the service while Queen Victoria was on the throne or not, I don't know. But I would like to hear something about the what comes to my mind, that the photographers was Fox. It comes into my mind, company name of Fox, who were the photographers for the who took the photographs.
Down at the bottom of the steps.
Pardon?
Down at the bottom of the steps by the stack. What was the bridge then?
What was the
bridge across?
There was the bridge, yes.
What sort was it? Was it a rope bridge or?
Well, it moved when you went across. You know, it was that sort of a movement, if I remember rightly. Another interesting point, things were primitive in those days. It was a land station, you know, to my surprise, and well, anyway, one of the keepers, the families were there, and one of the one of the keeper's daughters had a bedroom next to the super's quarters. Well, strangely enough, she had to go through my room to get to her room. And I always remember it was strange that it was explained to me that, don't be surprised if somebody comes through. And that's the only episode of that. There's no romance or anything took place with that.
I thought you was building up to something. Huh?
Well, all I know that she was courting a bloke that worked on the railway, and he was, a ticket.
Did he used to come through your room as well?
No, no.
Every third day you're having on the breakwater and the salt stack. You spent your third day. You came in the morning, but you'd having a day off. But you had to be back on for lighting up. Take a watch.
Right.
So.
And it was the old paraffin lamps.
The old paraffin, pressurised paraffin.
Yeah.
And of course, depending on the station, often the weights had to be wound up to keep the lens revolving.
Yeah.
And then of course, same with the salt stack, you had the fog on to look after, the compressor and that. Most of the rock stations were explosive type of fog signal, and of course that had to be the arm had to be wound down from above the lighthouse.
Yeah.
The detonators and charges put on, wound up again, and you had to go back inside to wait for a bell to signal to set the charge off. And then you just have to dash out again, wind it down and put the charges on and everything. Yeah.
And that was all night long if it was foggy?
All night long it was foggy.
Oh, that's been great fun.
Oh no.
Were you ever at South Stack when they had the, was it the donkey? Up and down the
Yes,
stairs?
yes.
And can you explain what the donkey was used for?
The donkey was used to come into Holyhead, pick supplies up, your food, anything actually you wanted, and you went back up to take charges up to the North Stack, which was an explosive signal station. Supplied them with the detonators and charges there.
And I take it, was it steps down to the South Stack then? Or?
Yes.
And the donkey made
Well, years back, seemingly the donkey used to be taken down to the lighthouse, but we used to leave it up at the farm opposite the cafe at the top.
Yeah.
So that used to stay there.
Yeah. So did you enjoy being on the stack then?
Oh yes.
They sent me up to South Stack, and then I got made principal keeper then from there when they introduced the month on, month off, and they appointed me principal keeper to Skocum, and then I spent 5 years at Skocum as principal keeper, and then went back to South Stack for about 2 years again. And then I went to Skerries, then Skerries Lighthouse, for 5. And then I went back to South Stack then for about 12 months before it actually went automatic. And then I got transferred then to the Wolf Rock, and then spent about 2 years on the Wolf, and then got transferred up to Holyhead Control Centre, the old Holyhead depot here. And by that time, of course, a lot of the lighthouses were automatic, and we monitored them in the depot, the North Wales lights in the depot on computers. And then spent about 5 years in the depot, I think it was 5. And then in the 3rd of October 1994, I retired from the service after 34 years in the job. That's unbroken service, and of course with the former service I had, it would have been about 36 years. So and that's my story, I think.
Right. If you go back to the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
you're married with children.
Yes.
Where did you meet Megan?
Oh yes, I met Megan on Stack Lighthouse actually when one Sunday afternoon as a supernumerary when I was first in the job, and they came down to Megan and 3 or 4 other girls came down to the lighthouse on a Sunday afternoon, and we were taking photographs outside, and we got talking to them, and we invited them in for tea, and from there we went on, and that was it. We got married, we got engaged and married eventually, but the first time I actually saw her was through a telescope at the top of the steps. So.
Was that with L.O. Williams there?
Yes, L.O. Williams was he was the keeper in charge then at that time, and it was also, there was an old PK called Cecil Tresice was there as well, and Joe Turvey was another assistant keeper there. And a supernumerary with me was Simon Reynolds as well. He was there as well. And Jack Mayburn then was another principal keeper who was there when I was there again. And he was the chap who was taking the photographs when I met Megan, who was in the group, I should say, and he invited the girls to stand in the group, and took a photograph of them all. So, and that was it. Then we went to I went to Smalls after that, and then of course we got married. I left the job then and went into the RAF, and I got married on embarkation leave, and I before going overseas, and we had a short about 2 days honeymoon, and I never saw Megan again for about 18 months after we got married. And that was it. But at that time we did 2 months on and a month off, and it was quite. It wasn't very nice for married families, married people at all. It was quite a long stint on the lighthouse actually.
This was my 2019 visit as a tourist. You enter through the kitchen, which is now. This was the old kitchen. Then you go straight into the sitting room. On your left would be the chairs and the tables. And to the right would be the tiny little table with a telly on. That was a spare bedroom in there for visiting personnel. And straight through there's the corridor that goes into the engine room ahead of you. To the left now, that's the alcove where the telephone was, and on your right was the bathroom. Swinging round now, you come to a storeroom, and then that little room in there was where the PK was, the principal keeper, his bedroom. Then down this corridor, on your left would be stores and stuff like that, a freezer, and on your right are 2 keepers' bedrooms. This last one coming up on the right now was the one that I occupied while I was down here. Then straight into the engine room. You've got the station batteries on your left and a workbench. Down on the floor in front of you are the alternators for the foghorn and the controls there for the foghorn. This place is done out for tourism now, so, and here's a close-up of the foghorn alternators for the electric foghorn. You now have to follow this route round, and coming up on your left is the standby diesel lister. And yes, you can start it by hand. And then in front of you is the control cubicle for that engine. Then it's to the right and in for the rest of the tour. Quick look up. And these steps used to be painted, and we used to wash and polish and God knows what up here. The railings were always painted. I'm being closely followed by quite a few tourists, so I can't linger on these steps. Nearing the top, not far to go. One look down to see everybody else, and back up. And you go straight into the service room, and there's all the automatic stuff on the walls. The curved cupboard is still there, the fog detector seems to be missing. And this last steep flight up to the lantern room, and it looks like they still polish the brass for the tourists. Up in the lantern there's the emergency battery light now outside on the gallery. There's the North Stack fog signal in the distance there. Now a look up at the lens. Everything's sealed in plastic now, so tourists can't put their fingers in. And inside there is a tiny little bulb, tiny little tube bulb. I don't know what sort it is. And it was a daily chore when you turn the light out, put the curtains up, get the steps out, or the ladder, and you'd be up there washing this thing down once a week with water and methylated spirits. But most days you would just wipe it down to get any fingerprints off. A last look from the cliff top steps on the way back up. There's a point where you can stop where you're right on the beam of the light.